servant leader. You've been in the tech space for how long, Harold?
Let's see. I started in IT June 12th, 1989. So I remember the date like it was yesterday. So we talk about that in the book. And to understand that background, I had no experience in IT. I graduated from James Madison University in August of 1988 with a degree in public administration and political science with a minor in economics. And so to give you how that journey transpired into IT, I'll take you through that story. So it started in a classroom. I was 22 years old, and I went back to my alma mater, Benedictine High School, which is a military, boys military academy in Richmond. And I was part-time teaching because I just graduated and looking for a job. And so I went back and got a job coaching JV basketball and teaching about 6 classes a day with juniors and seniors. And so they came to me and they said, well, Harold, I got some bad news. You know, we know what the enrollment is going to be for the upcoming year. And I wanted to give you plenty of time, a couple of months notice that we probably are going to let the part-time staff go and you really need to beat the street and find a job. So I'm like, okay, all right. I'm in this classroom. I got 6 classes of juniors and seniors and about 90 students. And I'm sitting there and I can only describe it as through the grace of God. I'm sitting there going, okay, I got my little resume. It doesn't have a lot of content on it because I'm just fresh out of school. And what am I going to do? I got to beat the streets and find a job. So I'm literally sitting there, AJ, and I'm sitting there and through only, the grace of God, the Holy Spirit dropped the nugget. He said, hey, why don't you give your resume to all 6 classes, 90 students, and tell them to give it to their parents and tell them you're looking for a job. Because again, I'm probably 19 minutes older than these guys. I'm simply 22 years old. They're 17 and 18. So I'm not much older than these guys.
What's up, ladder climbers? I wanted to interrupt this video today to tell you guys about the Patreon. Join the Patreon, guys. For $23.99 a month as a professional Patreon member, you get access to me, who is a professional career coach. Guys, if you booked a professional career coach one time, you're going to be spending for one interview or for one consultation, you're going to be spending more than you would actually pay for a full year in the professional Patreon. You not only get access to me as a professional career coach, you get access to Google certifications so that you can enter the IT market with the skills that you need. You not only get access to Google certifications, you get access to the Black Heights community, which is a powerful community of over 90 individuals who are in the IT space, have all sorts of backgrounds, and that can help to motivate you, keep you motivated so that you can accomplish those goals that you want to accomplish. Become part of the Patreon today, guys. Check it out. See the link in the description.
So 3 weeks later, I had my resume out. I said, hey, you guys want an easy A? Here's my resume. Tell your parents I'm looking for a job. 3 weeks later, we're in class, and one of my students came back, and he says, Mr. Harris? And I said, yeah. He said, my dad wants you to call him. I said, well, who's your dad? And I talk about it in the book. And long story short is I go interview with one of my students' parents, and I walk into this room, and these 2 guys. Now, I want you to picture this, you in the audience. You've ever been to the Marriott Hotel, right? Mm-hmm. You've seen the picture of the father and son in that chair. Yep. With he's holding the architectural drawing.
Yep.
That's exactly what these 2 guys look like, and they were wearing bow ties. And back then in 1989, they had these real suspenders on, bow ties, and that's the first image that came to my mind was these guys look like that Marriott picture, and those bow ties are sharp, and that's where it began. Long story short, they ended up giving me an opportunity. And I started in telecommunications, June 12th, 1989. And I started in telecommunications working for 2 gentlemen that I talk about in the book. And it's been my journey through IT. Started from there, went to desktop engineering, field support, voice data, from the guy pulling cable, from the guy fixing your phones, from the guy cutting down voice and fiber and data in the closet, to then making a decision. And everyone in technology makes this decision, whether they want to or not, is you have to decide whether you want to lead people or if you want to stay in a particular technical space. And for me, I knew 10 years in, you know what? I love serving. I love developing people. I love that. And I made that decision to go into leadership, quote unquote. So that's how I got involved. But it really started with just a nugget from really just handing my resume out. And what I found out a couple of years later was that the two gentlemen that gave me an opportunity, they were Benedictine graduates. So there's your nugget about networking. They graduated from Benedictine High School. One graduated in 1969, the other graduated in 1972. So we had that bond of the Benedictine family firmly entrenched, and one thing led to another. It's almost like you hear stories of people that graduate from other prestigious colleges and universities, Notre Dame, and then they connect with someone else, and the next thing you know, they get an opportunity. It was very similar. So they took a chance on me, and I try to pay it forward every single time by serving others who may need the same thing.
I love that. I love that story, Harold. So, you know what? I love the fact that you were bold enough to just say, and vulnerable enough to say, hey, you know what? I need a job. I'm in a position right now. I am coaching individuals here, your students, whatever it is that you have in front of you. And you're said you're going to leverage them to help you gain a job, right? A lot of people have too much pride to say, you know, I'm not going to leverage these people to, you know, put myself out there and pass on resumes and stuff like that. What gave you, because you got to think about it, you're young at this point in time as well, too. You're 19, 20 years old. Why were you so bold to do something like that? Like, what was it that allowed for you to reach out to individuals knowing that it wasn't, you know, 100% that it was going to work, but ultimately it actually paid off a tremendous amount? Why did you go that route?
It's only when you look back now, almost 33 years later, almost 34 years, that you can see the power of the Holy Spirit. And again, I tell you that because I want people to understand there are certain things, and we talk about it in the book, that organically work for you, and you in the moment don't even realize it's happening. But when you are properly vulnerable and aligned, he puts people, opportunities, situations in your space that you are not even aware of, that create the pathway for you to move in the direction of the will that he has, the Holy Spirit, for your life. Even when you think you may want to go in a certain direction, he may close that door. Even when you think something that you're supposed to be doing, well, that might be in your flesh, but he may guide you by slamming a door or putting a person in your path. That had nothing to do with me. That was simply him going, here's what I need for you to do next. Don't worry about what's going to happen. Just do this. Be obedient. And even when it doesn't feel right, but that felt so right because it was like, ooh, do this. And I just did that. Years later now, when I look back on that, he was positioning me because as we weave this thread of basketball to bow ties, you're going to see things, some of them not so good, some situations ultimately are exactly where you align to be. So the message for your audience and the folks that are listening is, do not fight those things that organically happen for you, because there is a reason behind it. There is a purpose behind it. He is lining you up and positioning you to operate in your destiny, not Harold's destiny, not AJ's destiny, but your destiny. And sometimes we get in our own way because, you know, we fight it and we say, you know what? I wanted to be a rocket scientist. I don't want to do this. But in order for you to get to being a rocket scientist, well, is that what he called you to do? You got to ask him. And that's part of the power. We typically want to operate in our flesh and go, you know what? I'm supposed to be this, or I know I want to do that. Well, how do you know that? Look at the things that are happening in your space. Are you aligned with the right people? Are you aligned with the right situations? Because I'll give you an example, AJ. A lot of folks talk about, I want to be this, or I want to be that. Well, what if I shared with you that if you wanted to be a doctor, right? You wanted to be a doctor. That's what you believe you want to be, or a lawyer, or an architect, or an attorney. Pick any industry, it doesn't matter. What if I shared with you that in order for you to pay for the schooling required for you to get that expertise, you had to go work in a construction site, and you had to do that for 2 years, and you didn't like it. But that was part of the journey. But in your pride and in your flesh, you say, you know what? I'm not doing that. I'm not working construction. Well, it's not the construction. It's the construction is the tool to get you the resources, to get you the schooling, to get you where you want to be. But a lot of folks don't recognize that and they get trapped in. I'm not doing that. I'm not working at Walgreens. I'm not working at Kmart. I'm not working at 7-Eleven because I ultimately want to be an attorney. There, I don't see the connection between being a rocket scientist, an architect, a music person, whatever. I don't see the connection. Why I got to go work at Walmart? Well, you never know who you might meet in the Walmart line by checking them in. That connects you to the person that gets you where you need to be. So I would tell folks the nugget there is don't dismiss the insignificant. That's the lesson there.
I absolutely love that.